Hello, and welcome to Soul Comfort Studio. Are you craving for more tips to love yourself? Well, actually, Louise Hay got 5 more on how you could do that. Are you ready? Let's begin.
All right, number 6 on loving yourself is support yourself. Find ways to support yourself. Reach out to friends and allow them to help you. It really is being strong to ask for help when you need it, instead of trying to do it all yourself and then being angry at yourself because you can't make it. And there's so many ways, friends can help you. There are support groups everywhere. We now seem to have 12-step programs for almost every problem there is. I'm sure you have them here. We certainly have them in Los Angeles. There are lists of all the things that they do. In some areas, you find healing circles, and lots of the churches have support groups. And if you can't find what you want, you could even start your own. Start your own support group. All you need is a teddy bear and some good, encouraging thoughts. How do you start a support group? Some people think that's so scary. They'd like to have them, but they don't know what to do about it. Well, you can just gather 2 or 3 friends that have the same issues that you have and follow a few guidelines. If you do it with love in your heart, your little group will grow. It's amazing. People will be attracted like a magnet. And don't worry, if you have a little group and it starts to grow, don't worry about where you're going to meet, because the universe will always find a space. Okay, number 7 on loving yourself. Be loving to your negatives. Be loving to your negatives. You created every single negative pattern, every negative habit, everything you have in your life to fulfill a need. And they worked. See, everybody's made negative choices in the past. We all have. However, nobody is stuck with them. The good news is that you always have choice. You can choose again. And you can always choose to let go of the old pattern, and you can choose a different, a more supportive and nourishing thought. Letting go of the old negative pattern with love allows you to move into the new positive patterns with ease. It just makes it so much easier. But punishing yourself, with thoughts like, I hate my job, I hate this illness, or I hate this relationship, or whatever, keeps you tied to what you hate, and it doesn't allow anything new and different to come into your life. See, if you run around saying, I hate my job, then the universe gets this message, hates job. So if you get a new job, I guarantee you'll hate your job very shortly, because that's the message that you've put out. You want to release with love. Release whatever's in your life that you're not happy with now with love, and allow then the new stuff to come in. It really does. When you love yourself and you find yourself in the midst of a negative situation, you can say something to yourself like, I'm willing to release the pattern in my consciousness that contributed to this condition. And then you can say a positive affirmation, like, I really deserve only good in my life. I allow the healing powers and the healing energies of the universe to flow through me, really changing my life for the better. Our thoughts and our words are very powerful. And remember, no matter what's going on in your life, no matter what negative situation you have right now, you are never wrong. You're never wrong. You're always doing the best you can until you find a better way to handle situations. I love what Dr. John Harrison says in his book, Love Your Disease. He says, it's essential that the patient is congratulated on having worked out a way to get their needs met in as safe a way as possible for them. The patient is never condemned for having multiple operations or illnesses. In fact, quite the opposite, they are congratulated. We have to understand that whatever we have in our life, We have contributed to it because it's our way of handling situations. And to be angry at ourselves because such and such is going on doesn't make any changes. It doesn't make positive changes. What we have to do is fulfill those needs in a much more positive way. And that's what we want to concentrate on. Okay, humor is another powerful releasing tool when it comes to holding on to negatives too long. Sometimes we work so hard on ourselves that we forget to lighten up. You know, laughter's healing. Norman Cousins, healed himself of illness by watching the Three Stooges films and laughing himself into wellness. He wrote a whole book on it. Okay, number 8 on how to love yourself. Take care of your body. It's the house you live in. When you're born, you move into this house, and when you leave the planet, you move out of it. So love the house that you live in and take care of it. You can find exercise that you enjoy, something that's fun to do. And then watch what you put into your body. Drug abuse is so prevalent on the planet, and it's become one of the most popular methods of escape. If you're into drugs, it doesn't mean that you're a bad person. It just means that you haven't found a more positive way of fulfilling your needs. Drugs beckon to us. They say, come and play with me and I will give you a good time. And it's true, for a little bit, they do. You feel wonderful. But what happens is that they alter our reality. And what isn't evident at first is the terrible price that we have to pay. After taking them for a while, the whole health deteriorates rapidly and you feel terrible all the time. And in addition, you have a negative addiction. And then, people do all sorts of things with that. Drugs lower our immune systems to very dangerous levels. And on one level, you think, well, why would we even consider taking them? Peer pressure may get us to try drugs once, but continued use is another story. I've yet to meet anyone who really loves themselves who's hooked on drugs. We take drugs to escape ourselves and our feelings. And it all begins, again, with not loving ourselves and not appreciating who we are. We take those childhood feelings of not being good enough, and then we try to wipe them out. And this method never works. For the drugs or the alcohol or whatever we're using, that wears off, and then we feel worse than we ever did. And then we usually have a load of guilt, too. So we want to know that it's safe for us to feel our feelings. That's okay. Part of loving ourselves is feeling our feelings and acknowledging them. They pass through, they don't stay. Food, we use food. Food really is a fuel for our bodies to help create new cells and to give us good energy. And even though some of us may know the basics of good nutrition, we still often use diet and food to punish ourselves. It's another way. We stuff ourselves or stuff our feelings. We create obesity, we create health crises in our lives. We've become a nation of junk food addicts, unfortunately. It's like we've allowed the big food processors and their advertising to influence our eating habits. And doctors, of course, are not even taught about nutrition. If a doctor wants to learn about nutrition, it's almost like an extracurriculum subject they have to take. So they're not going to know a lot about nutrition. Most medicine of the moment is concentrated on surgery and drugs. So if we really want to learn about nutrition, it's something we have to take in our own hands. It's an act of loving ourselves to begin to be aware of what we put in our mouth and how we feel. If you eat lunch and an hour later you start going to sleep, you might ask yourself, what did I eat? Maybe there's something that isn't good for my body at this point in time and space. So start noticing what gives you good energy and what doesn't, what tears you down. So we can either do that by trial and error ourselves, or you can find a good nutritionist to go to who knows some of these answers and can really help. And then there are lots of other good alternative therapies that we can explore to see if they're right for us. Because remember, every body is different from every other body. And you can look around and see that. So no one thing is going to be good for everybody. But, you know, acupuncture is a favorite of mine. There's herbology, there's homeopathy, there's the Bach flower remedies, there's all sorts of body work and massage, there's aromatherapy, there's sound therapy. That's an area that I'm now beginning to explore, how sound waves can accelerate learning and healing. You know, we're in a time right now where the new technologies that we're learning are beginning to combine with ancient healing methods. And I see the possibilities as absolutely enormously, just endless, endless. I think between now and the end of the century, we're going to learn so much. So taking good care of our bodies is an act of loving ourselves. And then there is mirror work, one that I love so much. I have seen so many people change their lives by merely looking in the mirror and saying, I love you. I really, really love you. You know, at first it may seem untrue or even weird, and it can bring up sadness or anger or fear. But if we continue to do this simple affirmation every time we're in front of a mirror, our inner energy begins to shift. Letting go of destructive thoughts and behaviors and accepting ourselves as naturally lovable becomes so much easier. There are several ways you can practice mirror work. I like first thing in the morning, just looking in the mirror and saying, I love you. What can I do for you today to make you happy? How can I make you happy today? Do you ever ask yourself that? Especially first thing in the morning? And then listen to what you hear and start following through. You may not get any messages to begin with because you may be so used to beating yourself up that you don't know how to respond to a kind, loving thought. But listen and follow through and begin to learn to trust yourself. If something unpleasant happens, immediately run to the mirror and say, I love you anyway. Because you want to realize that events come and go, but the love that you have for yourself is constant, and it's the most important thing in your life. Not the experience of the moment, but the fact that you love yourself. If something wonderful happens, run to the mirror and say, thank you, thank you, thank you. Acknowledge yourself for having created that wonderful thing. You can do forgiveness work in the mirror. Look into your own eyes and say, I forgive you. I forgive you for holding on to old patterns for too long. I forgive you for not loving yourself. I forgive you for whatever. You know, we're so hard on ourselves. We're so judgmental and so critical. We beat ourselves up for every little mistake, no matter how small. Every one of us can use forgiveness on a daily basis. Sometimes I look in the mirror and I say, I am forgiven. I forgive you and I am forgiven. I forgive and I am forgiven. Know that it works both ways. You can talk to other people in the mirror. Tell people things in the mirror you'd be afraid to say in person. You know, you can clean up old issues. You can forgive them. You can ask for love and approval. It's a wonderful way to talk to your parents or part of a relationship. Talk to your doctor in the mirror. Talk to your boss in the mirror. You can say all sorts of things that you'd be afraid to say otherwise. But I think the last thing you always want to say when you do any mirror work is that what you really want is their love and approval. Because that's what we all want. We all want love and approval from wherever we are, so that everybody gives that to us. And the more we give it, the more we're going to get it. See, affirmations in the mirror are powerful because the mirror always tells us the truth. If you look in the mirror and you immediately hear negative stuff, then that's like almost a gift, a treat. Because if you look in the mirror and you say, I love you, and you hear this, who are you kidding? Can't be true. Then you know all you know is that is just an old negative thought that's passing through. And what I like to say lots of times is, thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing. When you acknowledge that the negative thought is there, don't give it a lot of importance. Or if you have a negative message coming through, turn it around into a positive affirmation. Just let it go. And at least once a day, look in your eyes and say, I love you. I really, really love you. I love you. And as for loving yourself, do it now. Don't wait till you get well, or you lose the weight, or you get the new job or the newer relationship. Do it now and do the best you can. You see, if you're dissatisfied with yourself now, and you think, oh, well, I will love myself when I get the new job, or I lose the weight, or I have a new relationship, believe me, you'll lose the weight, you'll get the new job, you'll have the new relationship, and you'll still be dissatisfied with yourself. Because the dissatisfaction with yourself is a habit pattern. If you can be satisfied with yourself now, if you can love and approve of yourself now, then when the good comes into your life, when the new things come in, you'll really be able to enjoy it. You'll really have a wonderful time. So don't wait. The most important thing is just be willing. Just be willing. I'm ready now to love myself. I'm ready to let my life change, and I'm willing. You may not know how to. It may seem sort of scary practicing all these things. If that's too much, then just start with, I'm willing to learn to love myself. I'm willing to learn to love myself. And believe me, the universe will hear you, because and God always says yes, your subconscious mind always says yes, you'll start to get a positive response. And once you've learned to love and accept yourself exactly as you are, then you can begin to learn to love and accept other people as they are. See, we can't change other people. If we just, that I think is another way of learning to love yourself, is stop trying to change other people. Leave them alone. I mean, all that energy that we spend into trying to make other people different, if we used half of that energy, we could make ourselves different. And when we're different, our whole life will change. You can't learn things for another person. Everybody has to learn their own lessons, but you can learn for yourself. You can learn for yourself, and you want to love yourself enough so that you're not brought down by self-destructive people or people that are negative. They have a right to what they think and what they want to do for themselves, but you don't want to put yourself in such a position. And if you're in a position where you're with a really negative person that doesn't want to change, then you need to love yourself enough to move out of that. Far too often we stay in a negative relationship for so long. You might even be taking abuse in a relationship. We'll allow ourselves to be put down. And when we do that, we're always saying, really, well, I'm not worth loving, so I have to stay here and accept this behavior because I know nobody else would want me. That's a very negative feeling to have about yourself. But where is that concept? That concept isn't out there. That concept can only be inside of us. And when we change the negative belief we have about ourselves, then we find that we're treated differently. I know that I sound very simplistic and I repeat the same thing over and over again, but I truly do believe that the quickest way to change any problem in our life is to love who we are. Because it's amazing how the vibrations that we send out then are different, and the way people react to us are also different. We can't be healed and whole unless we really love who we are. So ask yourself, are you willing to love yourself? Are you willing? When we really love ourselves, we cannot hurt ourselves, and we cannot hurt another person. And that, to me, is the answer to inner peace and to world peace. Unconditional love is the goal that I think we're all here for. But it begins with self-acceptance and with self-love. You've come to this planet for a purpose. You've come to fulfill yourself, and you've come to express love on the deepest level. And when you leave the planet, the only thing you're going to take with you is your capacity to love. That's it. You don't take your relationship, you don't take your automobile or your bank account or your job. You take your capacity to love. So how can you love yourself more? And how can you give more love to the planet, to the world? Over a period of time, using the principles and ideas that I've learned, I've created for myself a set of beliefs. These are what I call my basic beliefs and my beliefs, and they work very well for me. They're simple, and yet they seem to cover all the areas of my life, and I just want to share them with you. First of all, I believe that I am always safe. Wherever I go, wherever I am always safe. This is one of my beliefs. The universe takes care of me, and I'm led and guided every moment. I also know that everything I need to know is revealed to me. I don't have to struggle. Knowledge comes to me, whatever I need to know. I hear what I need to hear. And if I'm supposed to know something, it's revealed to me. I don't have to read newspapers. I don't have to listen to the news on television or on the radio. I don't have to fill myself with that garbage. If I'm meant to know something, it will come to me. I always know. I also know that everything I need comes to me in the perfect time-space sequence. And again, I release the struggle of trying to make things happen. I speak my word for what I believe, and then I let it go. I've placed my order in what I like to think of as the cosmic kitchen. And the big chefs are working on it. Well, you know, it's true. When you do your affirmations and things, we often do them and then we try to struggle to make them happen. But you know, if you go to a restaurant and the waiter or the waitress takes your order and goes off to the kitchen, you don't run after them into the kitchen to see what's happening. You assume that it's being taken care of. And you can do the same thing, you know. You do an affirmation for something and you want, and you say, okay, that's taken care of. Every time you think of it, you know it's taken care of it. So I deal with what's in front of me, and I know that what is right for me will come to me in the perfect time-space sequence. And so much good comes into my life. Some of it I ask for, and some of it, and much of it I haven't even thought of. When you love yourself, it's amazing what comes into your life. Okay, I also believe that life is a joy and filled with love. And as I choose to believe this, it becomes true for me. I awaken in the morning with joy in my heart, and I find it almost everywhere I turn. See, the heart's job is to lovingly pump joy throughout our bodies. And all we have to do is get our negative thoughts out of the way and allow this to happen. What we give out comes back to us. So what you're believing is going to come back to you as true. Okay, I also believe I am loving and I am loved. And I operate from the loving space of the heart as much as I can. Now, this is a lesson for all of us, and we're not there all the time. Every time I find myself off track, I try to bring myself back, because by giving out love, of course, it comes back to me multiplied. And there's so much love in my life these days. It's just incredible. I could never have imagined it. Never. Okay, I also know that I prosper wherever I turn. See, I've never gone for the money. I've always asked myself, how can I help? And I know that the quickest way to increase our income is the mental work that we do. The beliefs we choose to accept either attract or repel money and other forms of prosperity. My income is constantly increasing is another affirmation I've chosen to accept and believe. My income is constantly increasing, because that means wherever you start, it can always grow. So I prosper wherever I turn, and my income is constantly increasing. I also know and believe that I am willing to grow and to change. See, I don't believe that I know everything. I don't think I'm on some plateau and I know it all. I know that there's so much more to learn. I'm well aware of that. And I'm open and receptive to new ideas and to new knowledge and to new insight. And I allow them to come in. And when I find something new, I'm willing to shift what's inside of me. And I do that periodically. I'm so different than I was 20 years ago. My goodness. I'm willing to look at myself. See, I know that I can become more of who I am. I don't believe that we become better people, because that always implies that you're not good enough. But I think we can become more of who we are. See, growing and changing is wonderful. I'm willing to let go of whatever doesn't work for me anymore. And I know that growing and changing are just aspects of life. The other thing I know for myself is that all is well in my world. See, if I know that all is well in my world, then it doesn't much matter which direction my life turns in, because it'll always be good. So I trust life to take me where I'm supposed to go, and that everything will always be for my highest good. And these beliefs work for me. Now, what kind of beliefs would you like to live by? See, create a set of beliefs that you would like to live by, and then start affirming them and know that they're true for you. They'll help you carry you where you want to go. That is part of loving yourself, creating a set of guidelines that work for you. So you want to love yourself, you want to love other people, you want to release your negative patterns and negative thoughts. Practice unconditional love as much as you possibly can, because it'll change your own life enormously. Do everything you can to be happy and to bring joy into your life.
Which of these 5 is your favorite? Comment down below, because we love to hear from you. And if you learned something from our video, click on subscribe button to keep you updated. Until next time,